And welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, prideofdetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook. You know where to find us. Do all this, do all that. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio to download the podcast and watch live on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit and catch the recordings on YouTube. Search for Pride of Detroit. I give out this thing is just, it's an Ouroboros. It grows, it devours itself. We're everywhere. We have to be everywhere. It's the only way you survive. Just keep growing. Just add more segments to yourself. Get longer. Adapt or die. This is the Pride of Detroit PODcast, where we ostensibly talk about the Detroit Lions. And I, the chatterbox, the one everyone hates. I'm Chris Perfett, the very adequate host, at Chris Perfett on Twitter, PERFETT. We've got a four-man crew here, so I'm going to make it quick to get to everyone. As always, Jeremy Reisman, the fearless leader, at Detroit Online on Twitter. Jeremy, hello.
Howdy. Welcome back from the bye week, everybody. How excited are we about our Detroit Lions, baby? 1-3.
I didn't think it was possible, Jeremy, for people to get mad during the bye week about the Lions. And yet somehow there was about 3 different ways people got mad about the Lions. It was impressive.
And you know what? It's kind of impressive too, in a way, because normally I think all we hear during the bye week is, you know, the overused joke every single year of, oh, the Lions can't lose this week. Lions undefeated in the bye week. Ha ha ha. Well, guess what? We still got mad.
I don't even think we covered the spread against the bye week. To find out if we covered the spread against the bye week, we turn to our man, Ryan Matthews, at Ryan_POD. Ryan, your friend Bovada King 69. I do not know who he is, but can he give us the background? Like, did the Lions cover the spread against the bye week?
Yeah, I mean, his identity will remain concealed forever, but no, they did not cover.
Dang it.
That's unfortunate. There goes that ticket. I was going to check in. Yeah. Ryan's here. He's with his friend Bovada King 69 on the phone. Almost gave something away there. And joining us as the fourth man here. Just we like to have a guest in during the bye week just to kind of, you know, settle in, ooze out a little bit, spread ourselves out, put up our feet a little bit. And that is joining us now is Big Drew from Big Drew and Jim on 96.1 FM, Grand Rapids, ESPN, at Big Drew Tweets. Hello, Drew.
Hey, guys. Good to be here. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
We decided we needed someone else who was a chatterbox in here because apparently 3 of us weren't enough. So
no, always got to add one more voice, you know, a little bit more
Always.
Ingredients in the soup.
Yeah, just until it boils over, flows over, and destroys your stove. That's how you know it's good.
Like the Lions, we'll just go get a new stove, right? You just trade it out, you switch it in, and then it just breaks again.
Yeah. Or you could do what Jeremy keeps saying. Jeremy keeps sending me images of like people boiling. It was frying. It was a crepe wrapped in spaghetti, deep fried in olive oil. That was a massive waste of olive oil. I'm mad.
That was my intentions. Speaking of mad, though.
Yes, speaking of mad, let's talk about, I said there were 3 ways the Lions somehow lost against the bye week. Let's talk about the first one because, folks, I wasn't intending to talk about trading Matthew Stafford. And I think you, Ryan, Jeremy, you touched on it in the mailbag. Forgive me if I'm wrong, that you weren't really interested in talking too much about that right now. Is that correct?
I mean, it's always a topic I kind of want to avoid because, I mean, for the first 10 years of his career here, like, it always seemed to pop up at times in which, like, it just wasn't appropriate to have a conversation about trading Matthew Stafford, either because 1, he was playing really well, or 2, his contract pretty much made it impossible to trade him. But we're getting to a point right now where we're dangerously close to where this should be a conversation that be had, and it all kind of sped up on Sunday afternoon because of a very specific event that happened in Week 5.
Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, am I the resident Dak Prescott injury expert? Because
there's kinship there.
My leg. Yeah. Okay. I mean, his wasn't so bad because it was only in 1 spot versus mine was in 2. Not a big deal. But yeah, I mean, Dak Prescott's injury definitely leaves the Cowboys shorthanded if you don't think that the Red Rocket can get it done. But that's why they went out and got Andy Dalton. So I think what's interesting about the Stafford trade rumors is yes, like the marriage with the Dallas Cowboys has long been foretold because of his ties to the state and because of the Dallas Cowboys and they're America's team, blah, blah, blah. But what's interesting is that there's numerous teams that, I mean, we understand that the NFL, their windows and they're very short. And you have the 49ers who have a good defense, supposedly, until they, give up a 40 burger to the Finns. But like, I mean, Jimmy G, is he their quarterback? He just got benched for CJ Beathard.
Right.
The Dallas situation. I mean, there are just multiple situations around the league that seem like they're one Matthew Stafford caliber quarterback away from maybe this could be our year.
Drew, I wanted to bring this to you before I throw my own thoughts in there, because I know you and Jim were talking about this today too. Like, this is really reared its ugly head, and like fans are really starting to, I don't know if they're warming up to it, but it's another sign, I feel, that everyone's ready for the hard rebuild to go. And unfortunately, I think they realize that calculus means Stafford might be a part of it. It's a matter of whether or not you agree on the value that you can get back for Stafford, if the season is even salvageable, or just any other factors moving forward. Just your thoughts on it.
Well, I like that you guys bring up, excuse me, the amount of situations around the league that seem like they would be cured with a simple injection of Matthew Stafford into the team. And I think the only reason that Dallas having that availability brings Matthew Stafford up, one, absolutely the hometown connection, and two, no other team has Jerry Jones at the helm pulling the trigger whenever he feels like it. The wildness of Jerry and his ability to make deals in season is something that makes this even worth discussing. And it was absolutely tailor-made for sports talk radio. I, as much as you guys are like, oh, we're hesitant to do this, I'm like, spectacular. Monday of the bye week, I've got Stafford trade rumors. My job got a whole lot easier today. And predictably, the phone lines lit up. People did want to talk about this because you guys are right. I think fans with the internet age are educated enough to know that prior to about this season, trading Matthew Stafford was cap suicide. It really was. It was a stupid idea simply because you wouldn't have the money to do anything else. And now we've reached the point where the conversation can come up. We talk about other situations that could use a quarterback injection, and Matthew Stafford's name comes up. Well, why not Matt Ryan? The Falcons are a worse team. They already fired their coach and GM.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to go here, yeah.
Because Matt Ryan is cap suicide, kids. $75 million, I believe, in dead cap space if they try to move him this year. Matthew Stafford is, I believe, less than half of that.
Yeah.
So it's why it's coming up. But as you guys are saying, it's hard to want to move on from a guy who has at times played so well. And yet this year, I think the other reason it's palatable, and I hate being the guy to go there, he's not playing as well as he has in the past. He's simply not as accurate as he's been before. And that's not to say he's playing poorly. He's still Matthew freaking Stafford. But it's what makes the idea palatable to fans when he's not being superhuman Stafford.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up Matt Ryan because, I mean, well, the Falcons are to come back up on this show here in just a little bit. Don't worry, spoiler alert for our next segment. We start talking about the coaching staff and something else the Falcons seem to have gotten ahead of on the Lions on. But, yeah, you brought up the dead cap. It is for Matt Ryan this year's $75 million, almost $76 million, versus Stafford right now 38. This is kind of Jeremy, this is the year where the cap hit on Stafford's only about 22 million. Next year he does go up, whereas for Matt Ryan, I believe like this is the cheapest year for Matt Ryan before like it blossoms. Like I think the Falcons only paid him in cap about 19 million this year. Next year they pay him 40 million.
Right. Yeah.
So that's like,
and the financials are a big part of this equation still. Like I said, we're finally towards the part of Stafford's contract where we can start talking about it, but it's still a big financial hit if you decide to move on from not only this year but next year. I mean, basically it's going to cost them almost $25 million in dead cap in 2021 if they decide to move on from him now. It would cost him about $10 million more, $34 million, $35 million to keep him on the team. So you save $10 million, but you're still paying him, or you're still paying towards the cap $25 million just to not have him on your team. And so when we're talking about all this finances stuff, the underlying issue here is who's your GM and how is that going to play into everything? Because, I mean, I wrote an article today on Pride of Detroit talking about well, this isn't going to happen right now because Bob Quinn would be committing career suicide by trading Matthew Stafford. We saw what happened with this team without Matthew Stafford last year. They went 0-8. If this team goes anything close to that without Matthew Stafford in 2020, Quinn's got to be gone. And so now he just made an extremely bold move, and the next GM is the one that's going to have to clean up the mess. And maybe it's actually not a mess. Maybe they get a first and a second round pick or something like that, and that's great for them. But they are also going to have that $25 million crater in dead cap that the new GM is going to have to deal with. So I don't think it happens at all, but this does kind of bring into question, and it's something we'll talk about in the next segment, like if the Lions were to make a move before the trade deadline, which is a month away, whoever is the acting GM, this could be a bold move that they make for the future of the franchise.
Is there any chance that GM, Ryan, would be Bob Quinn? Because I feel I kind of agree with Jeremy there. If you're trading Stafford and you're still Bob Quinn, you're basically saying you're throwing in the towel in the season and you're in a rebuild mode. And I think the Fords have made it pretty clear you were here to win now. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that Bob Quinn has enough fingers on that monkey paw. Like he had the opportunity to claim his own coach. He had an opportunity to get, how many drafts in are we now in? 5? 2016,
yeah.
17, 18,
and a couple
19,
top
20.
10 picks.
Yeah. And a couple top 10 picks. If Bob Quinn was interested in fixing the quarterback problem or changing it up, wouldn't he have really entertained the idea of Tua at 3? Wouldn't he have entertained the idea of Justin Herbert at 3? Like, I think that just because the situation changed, like taking Jeff Okudah was clearly hey, we need depth at cornerback. We need to be good this season because my job is on the line. Trading Matthew Stafford, as Jeremy just said, is signing your letter of, resignation right there on the spot if you trade Matthew Stafford. But I think we're missing one very important thing, guys. If a Matthew Stafford trade rumor happens and Kelly Stafford doesn't weigh in, did the trade rumor even happen?
Is this Schrodinger's God, is
Stafford
if I call her a wag, is that offensive? I know that's like the Euro term. But
maybe. And to be clear, I don't think there's been any like substantial actual rumors. I think this is just fans saying, like, connecting dots here. Basically saying, oh, look, Stafford, Detroit. Hey, you know what would also be fun? Stafford get coached by Kellen Moore. That'd be kind of fun, right?
That happens too much. That's such a millennial thing, man. Where it's like, hey, you've been at this company, you're so old, and guess what? You're now getting, like, your boss is much younger than you.
No, and guys, I think there's been nothing, and you guys are right. There's been nothing to substantiate any of this. There really hasn't been, other than it's the Cowboys, which means it's possible.
Exactly.
Yeah, Jerry's crazy, and yeah, I think you're right. People have been playing up the Highland Park, Texas roots, and did you know he went to the same high school as Clayton Kershaw, and all the blowing your mind.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think this is something. Jeremy, I think a lot of this is predicated on people expecting this to happen mid-season because the Cowboys would want to win now. I just don't see this happening, as you say, for all the reasons Ryan brought up, in the middle of a season. If there is going to be a trade for Stafford, it will happen in the offseason.
Yeah.
And it'll be predicated on what you get on as far as trade value. I don't think at this point, can you even get I'll ask this as my main question. I'm sorry, but let me try to reformat and bring my line there. At this point, can you even get a first rounder for Stafford if you did trade him in the offseason and the Lions crater?
A lot will depend on how the rest of the season plays out, but I think so. I think the Lions, if they aren't getting a first round pick, they keep him. Like, that $10 million in cap space that you save is not worth it. I mean, you can still go ahead and draft a quarterback depending on, if this team's drafting in the top 10, the top 5. We could very well see that, but then maybe just go the route that the Packers seem to go and keep Matthew Stafford around, keep him as your starter while you're developing the rookie. Like I said, it's just not that much saving, at least for year 1. Year 2, maybe you can talk about cutting him or trading him. But I think if you're not getting at least a first-round pick for him, then there's really no reason to let it go. The only reason a mid-season trade, I think, would be smart for this team is because I do think there's more value there. I think you can find a desperate team that really wants to win now and get that extra half season in there. The question then is, but like we said, like the big bump in the road there is who's the GM that's pulling that trade. And if the Lions fire Bob Quinn before the trade deadline, who is it? Is it going to be Sheila Ford Hamp that pulls that trade? I mean, who's going to be the acting GM? Is it going to be someone within the ranks there that's been around the Lions organization? Is it just going to be, I don't know, Ernie Accorsi? Is he going to come in and pull the trade? Like, all of that makes it very unrealistic that I think we see a midseason trade with Matthew Stafford. But I do think that it's very much a conversation to be had in the offseason. It's probably something we're going to continue to talk about as the season goes on, depending on, the results of the rest of the season. But yeah, I think if you're not getting a first round pick, to go back to your original question, you don't even you hang up immediately, essentially.
Yeah, Ryan, I guess the big thing is, like, I know everyone's already starting to mock a quarterback to the Lions just because it seems to be that, everyone wants to tank for Trevor, even though there's a few teams in front of the Lions. It's going to be a mad dash for Trevor, I think, with how many teams are this damn bad right now in the season. And I mean, what's like, you want that capital because maybe the idea is you want to move up in the draft, but I'm just trying to game plan out here. And I know you probably have a better foresight on this than me. How would you even handle this right now? Do you keep Stafford so you would train in that new quarterback, or are you just trying to get it now and then just hope you can pull the trade come the draft?
Well, here's the problem. Drew brings up a good point when he says, Matthew Stafford hasn't been the Matthew Stafford that we're accustomed to seeing. And this is Matthew Stafford after 2 back injuries now. Now, am I saying that those things are related to one another? Who knows? But his play is definitely not Matthew Stafford-esque. And then Jeremy brings up another good point. Like, the only way I think that you're going to get a first-round pick is if you capitalize on a team that's desperate enough at the trade deadline and they see that window closing and they're hoping that Matthew Stafford can be the stick that they, stick in there and keep it open for long enough that they can maybe, take a shot in the playoffs with Matthew Stafford, something we as Lions fans haven't really seen a whole lot. But if Matthew Stafford plays well, you want to keep him around. Like, doesn't everybody remember how bad it was around here before Matthew Stafford was the quarterback? Like, I mean, don't we realize, like, how many seasons it was? Drew's raising his hand because he's like, I. But that truly is it. Like, if Matthew Stafford plays well enough, like, is he worth trading, Drew?
I mean, if he plays well enough, and I think the big key is what you guys are both hitting on, is it's got to be in season, because that's the only way you're leveraging enough that it's going to be worth it, not just to the team, but to the fan base. And I think part of this is, if this new GM, interim GM, or God forbid, Sheila herself is pulling the trigger on this, you have to get enough value to sell it to the fan base. And I think you have to sell it to Matt Stafford too, because I think the big thing to me is that this franchise has a lot of ill will from players currently in the league and big influence players outside of the league. Calvin Johnson doesn't miss taking a shot at the Lions when he gets a chance to. Darius Slay will fire up a microphone any chance you give him to tell you how much he dislikes this franchise.
Even the very quiet Ndamukong Suh weighed in this weekend.
Oh, yes, the picture of peace in Ndamukong Suh. And I think people look at this franchise and they see the franchise that chased off Barry. They see the franchise that tried to get money back from Calvin. And I think if they become the franchise that does Matthew Stafford dirty, that's 3 strikes, and you're going to have a hard time attracting premier free agents, which I think you already do have a hard time with. So if you trade Stafford, it has to be 1, impressive to the fan base, 2, impressive to the organization, and 3, agreeable to the Staffords. The last thing you want is an Instagram rant from Kelly about how dare you give up her man for less than 2 firsts.
That's a really good point, because I feel like a lot of people kind of treat the NFL as very transactional. And yes, there's a very business-oriented part of it, and a lot of teams trade away good players. And, Richard Sherman went off against the Seahawks, but the Seahawks are still viewed as a very respectable organization and things like that. But this isn't Madden. You can't just swap names and expect, like, that's it. No, like, there's a fallout when you trade a big player. And us in Detroit should really know that, considering all of the good and well-liked players that have been traded from this team in the past 2 or 3 years. So I'm really glad you brought up the important aspect of just, like, the feels. The feels are important.
Jerry, but don't you know that's the Patriot way? Bill Belichick doesn't care. He will ship you out of town. Haven't you listened enough to me? I know what I'm talking about. Bill Belichick. No, Bill Belichick actually is the apparently nice to work with and isn't that heartless either. But yeah, people, I agree with you. People have a very like, it's not just transactional. It's not just playing Madden. People just assume that it's like these players are suborned to you, and they'll just go where I say.
They're just action figures, man.
Yeah, just want to move them around. Like,
well, they make so much money. How do they have feelings? They can afford to not have feelings.
Yeah, sleep on that pile of money. No, I think the big issue here, central to all this, though, we're all talking massive hypotheticals, but I think you guys hit right on, is that you almost have a kind of conundrum on your hands, in that the only place where it makes sense to move it, as Ryan was saying, is mid-season, but if it's Bob Quinn can't make that move mid-season. So it can't. So basically, we're saying before November 3rd, if Stafford's going to be moved, Bob Quinn has to be out the door, and it has to be someone else making that move.
Right. And then do you trust that whoever that person is? It's presumably going to be. Do you trust that person to get the most out of a Matthew Stafford trade?
With this organization? Come on.
In this economy? Man, we're all in the same wavelength. All right, let's take a break here. I think we just want to leave it there for right now. Like, we have plenty of time before anything actual happens, but we're all bored in the bye week. And this came up, and there's a lot of cratering teams out there. I said we would come back to the Atlanta Falcons. Guess what? The Atlanta Falcons, I think, did something this week along with the Cowboys that made Lions fans take their second mental L of the bye week. And we're going to talk about that when we come back. Yes, we're talking about coaching again, general managers firing. Ryan and Jeremy got into it in the mailbag. I haven't had my chance to jump in, and I want some takes from Drew too. We're here with Big Drew from Big Drew and Jim when we come back on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. All right, we got some Twitch stuff, Jeremy, and I know someone was asking me in Twitch chat. I didn't want to answer this on air, but what happens first, Stafford to the Cowboys or Kershaw to the Tigers?
I feel like that's not a serious question. I'm not going to give it a serious answer.
I don't think either is. You know what? I answered Kershaw to Tigers, but I guess if we're being raw about it, just because it is Jerry Jones, I guess I would say Stafford to the Cowboys, because like the Tigers are cratering too. They're rebuilding too. They're not going to take on Kershaw and his weirdness in the postseason, but
they're not going to take on that money. They're not going to take on that money. They're trying to sell the Tigers. I bet money they're trying to sell the Tigers. That's been the theory for years.
Yes. You think the Illiches are just going to, now that the old man's dead, they're just going to sell it?
The rumor for years is Chris loves the Red Wings and never really liked the Tigers all that much. The Tigers were Mr. I's thing. Chris is a hockey guy, always was. And that he always wanted to sell the Tigers, but the family wants to keep the Tigers. So it's a push and pull. But the way they're doing this rebuild, man, with high draft picks, minimal big contracts, and with Al Avila telling people, oh yeah, we're going to spend in 21. Now he's saying, oh, that might be pushed back another year. Things are starting to add up.
God.
You've got low payroll with exciting young stars and a fairly newish ballpark still.
I want to yank my hair out every time I think about this. I'm sorry to Lions fans who don't care about the Tigers. I love the Tigers, and I'm just more and more mad each time I think about them lately.
Yeah.
We got a good question from Audible Dong. It's for Ryan specifically, or maybe your friend. He said, from Audible Dong, he asks, Ryan, since I lost my 3-team parlay this week, does that mean I need to bet double this upcoming week to win it all back?
It actually means that you need to triple it.
No, okay, all right.
I understand.
Cut his mic for muting him.
I understand that you're a novice bettor, Audible Dong, but it's called scared money don't make none. So
you're a horrible financial advisor.
Let me be the angel on your shoulder to Ryan's devil here, as someone who works on a Vegas show. Like, never play beyond your bankroll is all I'm going to say.
That's actually good advice.
Get your bankroll up, kids.
No, but it's same thing. Don't double down. Just play the same percentage of whatever you have available, your bankroll, whatever. Do it 10%, 5%, but never when you take an L, never try to come back. and try to double down to recoup it, because that's when things start to go real bad.
We've got a debate in the chat about how much you could get for Stafford at the end of the season. Some people are saying first and more. Some people are saying second. Cram says, seriously, his contract would be dirt cheap if he got traded. He's worth a first easy. Did you see what Buckner got?
I guess the thing for me, when every time I think about the Stafford thing, is like, whoever takes him, like either the Lions have to take a lot of that money, or the trade value goes down because of some of that money.
Well,
I don't know, man.
His base salary is low.
Yeah, his base salary is great for the level of production he normally gets, and I think that's why, like, we all brought up the his not as productive this year. But I mean, if you're Dallas, and here's the other thing that makes sense for Dallas, right? Is if you traded for Matt Stafford, you now have solved your quarterback problem, and you can let Dak go at the end of the year, and you saved money on your QB going forward, because you still got to franchise tag Dak again next year, or pay him $40 million coming off of an injury-ended season during a pandemic.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll trade for Matt Stafford. Thank you very much.
I know that Jerry was out there today saying Dak's our guy. Like, Jerry says whatever's on his mind at the time. I don't trust that for anything. And I know a lot of people are killing Jerry today, but man, this is just the business of the NFL, man. It sucks.
Listen, I think we do a lot of Venn diagram stuff on the show because things intersect in sports and people don't want them to. You can have empathy for Dak's ankle and understand that Jerry made a smart business decision. It doesn't make you a bad person to understand both things. I feel bad. That looks like it hurt a lot.
I don't know if it's smart, but at the same time, I just don't agree with the people who are saying who are basically inferring that because Jerry didn't get him on an extension, that somehow predicated this injury or something. It's a weird mental loop. I'm sorry. I know.
Yeah, I don't know how people get themselves into that headspace where Jerry Jones caused an injury by not signing a contract.
Any other notes? Yeah.
A couple of people in chat mentioned also Indy as a potential landing spot for Stafford, given that Phillip Rivers is as bad as everyone thought he was after last year.
Literal corpse.
Turnovers.
Literal corpse.
So let me tell you about bad beats. One of the guys in the Vegas show asked me for my best bet from the weekend. I said Colts -2, and I'm really wearing that one today.
It's just, I don't know if that's the route the Colts want to necessarily take. Obviously they're not hitting the full reset button, but I think they probably want to get younger and at quarterback, and not that Stafford's obviously 5 years.
All the pieces. They've got decent pieces around there.
Yeah.
Still.
So maybe a middle age / late age quarterback is right for them for a couple years while they maybe draft a quarterback there. But
cap real quick.
I don't know.
Cap situation.
It's just strange. When you talk about prognosticating success and everything like that with quarterbacks, I just kept on coming back to it. You have such a short window. The Colts went and got DeForest Buckner, and he's just a wrecking ball right now on their defense. And him and Darius Leonard are a lot of the reason why that defense is experiencing so much success. Hey, Lions fans, you remember how long DeAndre Levy's peak was? Womp womp. Ooh. Do you remember how long we had the 2014-esque defense around? It's why teams make moves.
Yeah.
So in 2020, they only have $9 million in cap. This year, they only have $9 million in cap space. Next year, though, $76 million available. But again, you're looking at an in-season trade to get most of the value. Unless the Colts, the Colts are probably fine this year with Rivers. But then, if they don't decide not to bring back Rivers next year, that could be your off-season destination.
Sure.
Trying to think where else. I think those are really the only two spots in the league, unless Miami decides after this year, we're still good enough and we could go after somewhere past Fitzmagic. I think
if Denver gets impatient, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
If the 49ers want to pull the plug on Jimmy G.
Yeah.
Saints? Drew Brees? Question mark?
I think they got Jameis with the assumption that he is going to be the future there, but
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I don't believe it. Ooh, to follow up that act, follow up Brady.
4?
What is that? 4?
My confused Tom Brady 4.
Oh, fourth down. Apparently,
real quick, I know we're not going to probably get to it during this next segment. Roaring Fork 78. If Wood isn't fired, there's no point in firing Quinn. Don't know if I really agree with that. Team President Rod Wood. I know when Martha went through and got rid of Mayhew. She also got rid of Tom LeWant. I don't know if, like, I think we've talked about this before, Jeremy. Wood is kind of a lifer with the Ford family.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole reason they hired him is because he deals with their finances on the Ford business side of things, and so I think that was the plan for Detroit. Is he kind of stayed on the business side of things, although it does seem like he's kind of creeped into the football side of stuff a little bit, which I don't personally like. I think that's not where he belongs. But he's been in on interviews with GMs, with coaches, and I'm not entirely sure why. Like, I understand he, as part of the business, I guess it's partially his job to know who's going to be the face of the franchise. But I don't think he infamously said in his opening presser, he doesn't know anything about football.
Yeah, not a football guy.
Not a football
guy doing this. Like, that was
which is fine. It's fine if you're not a football guy, but then you can't come out later and then start talking about Calvin Johnson.
No, I mean, you guys know Jeff Risdon from over at Lions Wire.
Yeah.
So Jeff and I were talking about this earlier this week, and it was last week, and he was mentioning how even some of the financial duties that Rod Wood was initially responsible for, they've now hired other people who do those. And Jeff was like, I'm actually not sure what Rod Wood does anymore. And to me,
funny enough, on Quarterly Review, what do you do? What would you say you do here?
Because to me, it's like you're wasting a position that you're allowed to have that is an influential football position as president. There are like a few other organizations that do it the way the Lions do it, but it's because they have really good coaches and GMs, like Seattle.
Yeah.
All right, we should get back into it for the next segment. What do you guys think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
All right. And welcome back to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, where we, the trio, are joined by Big Drew at Big Drew Tweets from 97.90. Excuse me, jeez.
Uh-oh.
96.1.
Oh God!
Ah!
No, I'm kidding. I don't care.
Tick. No,
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
care.
96.1 in Grand Rapids. We have something here from Twitch chat. I've heard Drew knows nothing about football from a certain former Michigan Wolverines mother.
Wow, we're gonna go there, huh?
Yeah, wow. I don't even know what that is about. We're just gonna leave that there.
Yeah. We might have been talking trash about a certain former Michigan defensive lineman, and his mother might have called the show to say, well, you boys don't know anything about football. And we play that drop constantly. It was Rashawn Gary's mother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, my co-host took some particular shots at her son's lack of statistical production at Michigan. and I kept trying to cover, like, no, ma'am, I understand. He was doing the job. He was eating up blocks. He was great. And Jim doesn't know how to talk to a woman in general, let alone an angry mother. So that's
fantastic.
That is absolutely a true story. We actually won an MAP award for that phone call. So that was great. Yeah. You guys don't know football from Rashawn Gary's mom.
I have to go look for that. I have one more quick great moments in wife / mother calling into a show. I think I was on with who was I with Fox Sports Radio? It was Jason Smith, and he was like saying something about his wife's laundry, and all of a sudden we had a phone call, and she just all of a sudden we hear on the end of the line, just he's full of it, and we realize it's Jason's wife calling, and we immediately put her on the air, and Jason had no clue, and the next 5 minutes of airtime was very awkward. But
that's awesome.
Funny things happen. Anyway, let's talk. Speaking of funny things, not so funny things, the coaching staff and the general manager. So this week somehow saw goodbye both. Since we last talked with the Lions, we have seen goodbye to both Dan Quinn of the Atlanta Falcons. I said the Falcons would come back up, and we've said goodbye to the other Belichick disciple out there, Bill O'Brien, Big B.O.B. Bob. He's gone in Houston, and Houston responded to that almost a player rebellion in Houston, just an out and out play. Like J.J. Watt suddenly was like leading a rebellion, which is like, I didn't think that was in his circuitry to do that. But that happens. Bill O'Brien, who was both the general manager and the head coach, who made one of the worst trades in NFL history, get rid of DeAndre Hopkins, is out. And now 2 teams have now beaten the Lions to be the first to fire a head coach this year. And I think some fans are starting to really salivate at the prospects. It's starting to get grim in the NFL. Pink slips are getting handed out. It's not going to happen during the bye week here, but pressure's on now from fans. And I guess my question to you to start is there any realistic chance this gets turned around at this point? Because everyone's out for Patricia right now.
It's really hard to know. There's not a lot of promising signs at this point. The most promising sign is probably the schedule. I think 4 of the next 7 are teams that have 1 win or fewer. So that's promising. This week against the Jags is a really good chance to at least delay that conversation. Of course, it's also an opportunity to potentially do the exact opposite and expedite it really, really fast if they don't win that game. But yeah, I mean, you never know how a team's going to look out of the bye week. I do believe Patricia when he says this, because we hear it from a lot of coaches, that you see a lot of sloppy football in September. Teams do get better as the year goes on. And, with the shortened offseason, with a lot of new pieces on defense, there's a chance that they maybe get it all together. But before I believe that that's going to happen, I need to see at least one smidge of evidence that it will happen. And I don't have that yet. So I put up a post earlier this week on Pride Detroit. What do you think the Lions record is going to be in those next 7 games against bad opponents? My answer was 3-4. I think that's enough to delay this conversation. I don't think it's enough to save his job at the end of the year, though.
3-4, I would say end of the year, you're still getting fired. Ryan, what's the threshold at this point? Where are your thresholds for like mid-season versus keeping him in the offseason? What would you need to see for either one?
Well, here's the thing. The Lions have a date with Jacksonville this week, right? And there is red-hot fever for that game because Jacksonville is circling it as, hey, here's where we can turn around our season. The Lions are circling that game and saying, hey, here's where we can turn around our season. If the loser of that game is going to have a hard time showing face. They really are. I mean, if Matt Patricia comes out of the bye week and loses to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and if it's in as convincing fashion as either the Packers loss or the Saints loss, I really don't know how you justify keeping him around. I really don't. I mean, that is just like the cherry on top of the start of like the first quarter of the season just being an absolute disaster.
Drew, what would it look like? What would the calls sound like if Gardner Minshew just throws all over Detroit?
I mean, first of all, Minshew Mania could run wild on you, brother. I don't know about that. The calls would light up. I mean, it would be pitchforks, it would be torches, it would be blood. They'd want blood. If the Lions lose to the Jags, my Monday after that is going to be both miserable and fun, like at the same time, because Caller's misery I don't enjoy. Jim's misery I do enjoy. So he's already, by the way, acquired a Jags hat for this weekend. He is that guy who is now a fan of whoever the Lions are playing against. We have a we have a Mark Brunell card in the studio that we look at every day when we come in. And I just enjoy it because I enjoyed watching Brunell play, but that's neither here nor there.
That was my team in my first Madden game was those Mark Brunell, Fred Taylor Jaguars.
Oh, so yeah. That was that fire.
That with you. Yeah,
Keenan McCardell, that was what's up.
Good pull.
But thank you. It's. I think that you guys have nailed it in that if they lose to the Jags, it very much so speeds up the process. However, I don't know if it ends the process because they're going to look at it and go, well, we could bounce back next week. And you guys have heard Matt Patricia, a guy who I last year believed had changed. I don't know if you guys are like, I feel burned. That's part of why I think I've been crying for the guy to get fired is I feel burned. I feel like the guy last year sold me. I've changed. I was drinking from the fire hose in season 1, but I've adjusted now. And now year 3, we're back to the same stubborn, arrogant guy we had in year 1. I think if he loses to Jacksonville, you're not going to be able to hear what he has to say over the cries of fans to fire him and run him out of town. I think if he beats Jacksonville, you're not going to be able to hear the fans over how proud of himself he is.
That might be true. I mean, I get what you're saying about Matt Patricia, and in part I agree. Like, he's had some really ugly moments this year in post-game pressers, and I think the trajectory was he was probably drinking from the fire hose that first year. He settled in year 2. Now with everything on the line, he's probably a little frustrated seeing that things haven't turned around. His job is very much on the line at this point, and yeah, he let loose a couple of really bad quotes, whether it was about, the team he inherited or the Super Bowl play from 5 years ago that he's still cashing checks for. Really dumb moves. But in general, I think those are still more the outlier of him. I think in general he's kind of a humble guy. He takes all of the blame every week, and I know that doesn't matter to anyone if they're not actually improving. But I do want to say, like, this isn't a great matchup for the Lions this week, and I don't want to get too much into the Jaguars game, but their offense is actually kind of good. James Robinson is killing it right now at 4.6 a carry. Minshew's got almost 100 passer rating. Like, this is a game the Lions could very well lose, considering their defense has been so bad, and if they can't stop them, even though, they're a 1-4 team and most people think they're really, really bad, in terms of matchup, it's not great for the Lions, so I do think we could be in for a very, very noisy next Monday.
Very, very noisy. Ryan, what happens? What would happen if? I've got two things running through my mind. One is that not only do you have the Jaguars to deal with then, and if they lose the Jaguars, it is blood out there, but there's a lot of other places in the schedule to embarrass yourself here, because the next few teams, Falcons, Colts, Vikings, right now there's only, I think, there's 4 wins between the 3 of them.
Yeah, and I mean, if you take a look at a team like Minnesota, I think at the beginning of the season they showed their ass, but they might be, an example of what Jeremy said. There's sloppy football in September, and I truly think the Minnesota Vikings are better than the Chicago Bears, and the Lions lost to the Chicago Bears. I don't care that it was a DeAndre Swift drop away from a win for the Lions. Like, they got embarrassed by the Bears, and they could just as easily get embarrassed by the Vikings. The Colts have a heck of a defense, and if anybody can make Phillip Rivers look at like Weekend at Bernie's, it's going to be the Detroit Lions defense. That's for sure.
I didn't throw Washington in there, by the way, too.
I mean, if they even touch Alex Smith, I'll be down there breaking COVID protocol and waving my katana at every single Detroit Lion defender. That man and I have a kinship.
You, him, and Dak now, huh?
There's blazers we get, but they go around your calf.
Family reunion can't stop us, won't stop us.
So let me ask a question. How bad does it have to get for them to move on from both? Let's throw Quinn in here too. How bad? How many of these next 7 games do they have to drop to really consider that midseason firing? Because I think we're all kind of beating around the bush here, saying like they probably don't do a midseason firing, but if they lose to some of these bad teams, and I think we all agree that's certainly within the realm of possibilities, I think it could happen. The question is just where does Sheila Ford Hamp draw that line? And obviously it's hard to know since we don't know Sheila Ford Hamp, but put yourself in that situation. At what point are you pulling the trigger here?
Man, I'm going to jump in first here just because I do want to point this out real quick, because in Houston, you had a situation where, as we've talked about, Bill O'Brien pulled one of the most boneheaded moves in recent NFL history, trading away Nuke for what was left of a running back and a couple of picks, I guess.
Yeah.
So you have that issue. You also had the players openly revolting against him at practice. So multifaceted there, combine it with not winning, and he's gone. Dan Quinn still had not won a football game when he was fired. Matt Patricia, even if it was a mirage in the desert, won a football game this year. I think it's going to take, honestly, they lose 3 of the next 4 or 4 of the next 4, and they might fire him. And I'm still not sold that it's going to happen then. And here's the other reason that I'm sitting on. Who's taking over when you fire Matt Patricia? Right?
Yeah, there's no one in the building.
No, in Atlanta, they at least like Raheem Morris. And Raheem Morris seems really well-rounded. I don't know if you guys know much about the guy's background in Atlanta. They brought him on defense, switched him over to offense for a year. Then he switched back to defense, he's done everything with every player they've got. Raheem Morris is a guy they might actually keep as a coach if he does well. You really want Darrell Bevel, who forgets he has tight ends that they've invested a ton in, running this entire team?
And in Houston, as much as he's had kind of a like an up and down pass, you could go to Romeo Crennel. He's had the head coaching experience,
and players like him.
Yeah, there's no one in Detroit that says past head coaching experience or coming up and up. Like, you're right. Like,
I mean, the one name that I've seen a lot of Lions fans throw out there is Braden Coombs, the special teams coordinator, and he does seem like an up and comer, but this is his first time as a coordinator this year. Taking the jump to head coach in the exact same year, like that's a leap of faith, and maybe it doesn't even matter. Once you pull the trigger here, the season's over anyway. So you're just kind of throwing someone in there, and it, if he goes 2-6, that's basically a success.
Yeah, you at least though need someone to keep the lights on. I was just looking up here. I was hoping in my narrative-addled mind to see if Matt Patricia could potentially bypass Rod Marinelli's record, but there would be at least I believe 13 losses for that to happen. So no, but I think, listen, I laid out the 5 upcoming games that I'm terrified of: Jaguars, Falcons, Colts, Vikings, Washington. For the record, I already think they lose that Colts game unless just things massively turn around or we get another 3 turnover burger from Phillip Rivers, which granted could happen, but all those other teams up in the air. You got the Panthers, the Texans. The road to Thanksgiving is, I think the Fords would see that if they're watching, they would see that as you should probably get through there with a winnable record, maybe 500. I think though, if you only come out to, if we're at Thanksgiving and you've only got 2 wins on the season, maybe even if you only have 3 wins on the season, Thanksgiving, and then you stink it up against the Texans, I think that's where the midseason comes in. The midseason firing comes in. It'll be late. It'll be later than other Lions fans hope, but I think you put it on Thanksgiving's your big tradition, and if you're just going out there stinking up the joint, like that might be where you have to finally put the foot down. Ryan?
I was just gonna say, speaking of serving turkey, though, like if Matt Patricia gets fired this season, like that's complete fan service. Like it's not to get like a head start on a coaching search. Like you can search for coaches while you have one. Like this isn't like marriage. Like you can't go out and like sample everything while you have something else. Like that's just not eating. So like the thing that happens is if they fire Matt Patricia, it is for you, the fan, to reinvest yourself into this team because they see things have gone so freaking sideways that the only way to rehab your image, and especially with the new owner in Sheila, like this is her chance to boom, hit the reset button.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm subconsciously focusing on the narrative and looking at Thanksgiving, because if you want to talk a symbolic firing, a symbolic sacrifice, that would be the time to do it. I could be wrong, Ryan. What would you think?
I mean, I think it's late enough in the season, but do you think that there's any advantage to doing it that late, Drew?
No, there's not. I think the only advantage, though, is something that Jeremy brought up earlier, is Braden Coombs. If you're going to hand Braden Coombs the reins to this team, doing it after Thanksgiving, you're kind of minimizing the window that you're asking somebody who's never done it before to be in charge. Maybe that's the plus, where whoever you're putting in charge afterwards, you're not giving them as much of a rope. But that's the other thing. 2 of the 3 coordinators on this team had never done it before this season. And I'm not a big Darrell Bevell guy. I know a lot of people are, but Darrell Bevell's track record is I have an amazing running back and I do great at coordinator because I have an amazing running back. If you check the stats, without Adrian Peterson and Marshawn Lynch, he's a middle of the road coordinator, even when he had Russell Wilson. It's not impressive. And the fact that, go ahead, jump in there.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jump in there. I just real quick sidebar here. I do find it interesting when it comes to Darrell Bevell is that when Darrell Bevell leaves town, all of a sudden we are talking about Russell Wilson as unquestioned MVP at this point in the NFL season. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Remove one part and all of a sudden he's amazing.
Yeah, the games Darrell Bevell gets credit for, it really seems like are games where he just says, oh, Matthew Stafford, you're good at throwing a football. You go do that now. That's not hard. I could do that. Hey, Matthew, you want to call plays? Go call plays, Matty. Have a great day. We'll check in at halftime with orange slices. Like, Darrell Bevell's not the guy I want in charge personally. And I realize for a half season, it can't do a whole ton of harm. but we're not going to see anything exciting on this team, and we're not going to get any more use out of expensive tight ends, which either cost draft picks or money dollars, and we're not using either one.
Fair.
All right. Well,
The
I
fearless
guess
leader has weighed in.
fair. He says, well,
I mean,
it was Jeremy's question, so yeah, we
The-
finally came back around the horn.
The one thing I will say, and this is just a tease for the website, is our good buddy Andrew Cotto is working up a whole bunch of film reviews this entire week, one article per week on the Lions offense and what's working, what's not working. And I'll tell you ahead of time, there's a lot that's not working that he's not very happy about. So check out the site this week for all that.
For those which listening audio only, I'm rubbing my hands right now, like just on camera, just like Birdman here. Okay. Sorry, I stumbled over the reference. Two more questions, I guess. One is there anyone interesting you guys would I hate even doing this right now because already there's so many teams throwing their hats in the ranks. I don't even think we're done firing coaches. Like Gase is for sure going to be gone by the end of this year as well. So I mean, there's going to be maybe one or two more coaches fired. Probably someone that we're not anticipating is going to be fired as well. There's going to be a rush for a lot of coaches out there right now. So you got to look beyond Saleh, and you've got to look beyond Eric Bieniemy, Robert Saleh. And so is there anything out there that you guys even see? But I mean, damn, to even bring up the name feels like we're kind of putting a cart before the horse, Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely are, and I feel like of the 10,000, mentions I've gotten on Twitter, either through my account or Pride of Detroit, all I've seen is Saleh and Bieniemy, and I'm ready to mute both those names. I'm ready to just be like, guys, y'all wanted a bunch of guys before, and they weren't going to work out. Y'all wanted Patricia. Y'all thought that was a great idea, and I just like hitching your wagon to a guy who's a coordinator on a good team. I don't know. That's overly simplistic to me. I mean, is Bieniemy really what's going on in Kansas City, or is it Andy Reid? It's probably
Patrick Mahomes?
Or is it Patrick Mahomes? It's probably 90% Patrick Mahomes, 9% Andy Reid, and 1% Eric Bieniemy.
Jeremy, that's exactly why on our last podcast, though, I brought up the point, like, if I want a head coach, I don't care if he's a defensive guru. I don't care if he's an offensive genius. Like, I want a player's coach. And it's not like me pining and looking back on Jim Caldwell with rose-colored glasses, but it's just me, like, look around the league. Like, it seems like the teams that experience success, they have coaches who are,
fun.
We literally just talked about a player's revolt.
I was going to say good to play for because I don't know how fun Bill Belichick is, but like
Fair.
By all accounts, him and Cam Newton get along just glowingly. So
but did you see Pete Carroll after the game last night? He's just like he's jumping up and down. I miss that. Not that Jim Caldwell was doing that. I mean, the only time I think that guy has ever jumped is that one picture of him at Penn State.
No,
yeah,
but
right.
I mean, those guys you talk about, even Belichick, like, damn, you hear so many players talk about how it was to play for him because he's just a different person when the cameras are off, or he's a different person when it comes to players. Kind of the same when I talk to people about Nick Saban sometimes. Like, man, like our perception of these guys in the media sometimes is not the same as what they really are. And yeah, Drew, like, these guys get guys to play for them and they have fun. I don't know, man.
Yeah, no, it's a weird thing. Like, and I like the read of go after a player's coach. I mean, it instantly makes me think of like Cliff Kingsbury. Like that's what I think of when you say player's coach, guy people seem to like. I will say, if you want me to give like a name or anything, I actually am one of those people. Can I say not Lincoln Riley? Can I say that? Because
yes,
like everyone keeps saying Lincoln Riley, and what's the biggest thing we all hate about the Lions defense is we can't tackle. What's the biggest thing Lincoln Riley can't seem to teach players to do at Oklahoma? Tackle. So, I like the idea of a player coach, though, and I think that that's very much so something that, like, when you hear the Darius Slay stories about Matt Patricia's first impression on him, you realize how crucial it is to win players over and then instill your system. Don't force your system and think that your system will win players over. Win players, and then they'll buy your system.
Love that.
I think that's the way it has to go. I mean, I don't want to be a guy who seems like, oh, I'm stumped. I think a guy who's eventually going to get a shot at the pro level if he wants it is PJ Fleck. That's a guy who you meet him once, and that guy is infectious. He gets in your infectious. Bad choice of words in this day and age. I apologize.
No, I know what you mean. I actually met him at Mac Media Days back when he was with Western Michigan, and like I just remember his aide trying to drag him to the CBS Sportsnet like TV interview, but he just kept talking with all of us just because he wanted to, and we just is like I want to call him coach by the end of it. Yeah. If I could give 2 more names from the college ranks too, I know David Shaw is a common one, and then Jeremy's gonna want me to like end the segment as soon as I say this name, but I'm sorry, I'm in love with him. Lane Kiffin.
Joey Freshwater? You want Joey Freshwater?
Yes, I do.
Why don't you just get him and then get Jim McElwain and we'll all go out on a boat together?
I think we should leave it there. I'm not even. Let's talk about Bob Quinn after the jump before we get into the quarterly reviews. We've got quarterly reviews coming up, your yearbook, and this is where we're going to have some fun here. We're going to go around the horn and do probably we're going to look at the past 4 games and do some Jimmy Kimmel stuff. I think that's the best way to describe it. We're lovingly ripping off other people here. That's what we do on the Pride of Detroit POD cast with Big Drew from 96.1 ESPN Grand Rapids. I should get the call letters here instead of just saying the number, but we'll be right back on the Pride of Detroit POD cast.
Uncle Indigo.
I love Lane. I'm sorry.
Uncle Indigo immediately says, Chris, no!
That's my bad take, man. Hey, you want an offensive-minded coach. You want a guy who gets people who want to play for him. And, like, I think eventually, like, okay, I know Lane's only in his first year at Ole Miss. He's going to make it to the NFL because at some point he's going to want to show that he is just like his dad, Monty. Like, he's destined for the NFL at some point. It's some guys at college want to stay at college. Lane, I think, is one of those guys who eventually is going to come pro. He had a setback with USC, and he had to find himself in the wilderness. He went and learned from Saban. He went and showed he could do it at a small program at FAU. He's at Ole Miss to show he can do it at a big program. He nearly took it to Alabama before the wheels fell off. And honestly, after that, like, who knows, man? He could try to break that ceiling. By the way, Jeremy, you wanted to get to this guy. I want to remind you of him. Rock Snub LOL.
Yes.
He asked, you guys consider doing a watch party for the next Lions game. You want to tell him about our Discord?
Yeah, there's 2 options there. There's our Discord, which !Discord. Basically a bunch of our fans are there, and there's an audio chat where people are just literally chatting during the games. A lot of fun. We do it sometimes with Monday night games. I think a couple of the guys are going to jump in there. They might even already have one up right now.
Yeah, I'm going to stick around after the game too and jump up there. So if anyone does want to go in there, Opens Lions Hangout is the channel you want to join.
I'll show you
I'll be in there as soon as we're done recording podcasts. As soon as we're done recording PODcast, we sign off Twitch. I'm going to go up to Open Lions Hangout.
The other option is Super Squares, which is a weekly Twitch show that I co-host with my buddy John Blevins, where we're actually hosting a game show and doing live Lions analysis. You can go to Twitch. Not that I'm trying to direct you to a different Twitch channel right now, but if you go to twitch.tv/supersquares right now, John is running a live show right now for the Monday Night Football. I might join them for the second half. We'll see. But I join them for every Lions games. We do really cool stuff. We've interviewed some amazing guys. We've interviewed Morton Anderson. We just did Jared Allen last night, which was an entertaining thing since he's such a big Lions villain. And if I'm not mistaken, we are going to have one of the biggest Detroit Lions of all time this Sunday right before the game. So you're going to want to be there.
Okay. Definitely be watching that, folks. Let's see. What else do we have?
I didn't besmirch Andy Reid. I'm just saying Patrick Mahomes is a god right now. I don't know how they lost that game, but he's still a god.
I turned around for like 3 seconds, and then they lost that game. I had no idea. I was
insane.
Like, what? Huh?
Nick Slick, I know you're not bringing up the name Bill Cowher. That is like the most sports talk radio call-in guy suggestion. That and like Bill Polian.
What is that?
Like they mock both of those on the Le Batard show. Like that's just easy bait right there.
I need to I need to pull up that tweet from Bill Barnwell from 2 years ago. So here's 8 coaches got fired. Wow, time to upgrade. Here are your candidates. A couple of guys who just got fired, a college coach who has no interest in leaving, a Patriots coordinator, I guess, a retired coach on TV, a young guy who knows a great quarterback, and Jim Caldwell. Basically everyone's list every single year.
Yep.
I could see David Shaw leaving Stanford, though. I'm just saying.
Maybe. You never know, really, but...
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with college. Like, some of those guys just have different priorities. People for a while kept banging the Nick Saban bus until they realized Saban's strength is recruiting, which you can't do in the NFL. Like, Saban recruits his ass off.
Yeah.
He recruits just so kids don't go to other places. And, like, the guy is not above going to someone's house and square dancing.
Yeah, the best part with him is he's not above doing it, but he's above letting it be filmed and broadcast. So he's like, I'll do it, but I'm not Jim Harbaugh down here.
I wanted to go back to PJ. Like, I didn't think PJ Fleck, again, I see that same energy in Fleck. That's why I think of him as a college guy, but I guess I could see him doing that at the NFL level. I think it get annoying after a little bit, but I think some guys could buy in.
Think of him as like a Sean, like not saying he'd have like Sean McVay level success, but think about like what you know about McVay's personality, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of the stuff that like the younger guys that were playing for him got into.
Right.
And it might be harder to sell to the vets, but like, how much do the vets really care, right? They're just kind of like, no, we're here to play football, collect the check. The guys you want to get up are the young guys, and that's where a PJ would come in. I also just kind of love PJ. I think he's just a friggin' sweetheart.
It's hard to meet him and hate him, and after that hate him, like for any reason whatsoever.
I get tweets from people that are like, how can you like PJ Fleck? He's this, he's that. And I was like, have you ever met PJ Fleck? And they're like, no. And I just go, meet PJ Fleck. And then tell me that stuff. Because that dude, I had Sean Belizean, like Detroit radio hardcore, met Fleck his first year on the job. Fleck got up, left our interview, and Sean goes, I'd run through a wall for that guy right now.
Yeah.
He goes, and I have 17 concussions. Doctors don't want me running through walls.
You guys want to do an extremely quick list cast before we get into the next segment?
Yeah. So Drew, what we do on the show a lot of times is called list cast. It is just us doing a top 5 or whatever. So
okay.
Top 3 receivers of all time.
Ooh, top 3 receivers of all time. Okay. Who wants to go first? I need to think for a second.
Normally, I'm against all-time lists because you're comparing eras, and eras aren't the same.
I mean, are we doing greatest, or is it like personal emotional list?
I mean, I guess you can. All it said is top receivers of all time.
That's
so
the beauty of list cast. Yes, it can be any criteria you want once the prompt is given.
I have mine.
Yeah, go for it.
All 3 of them ready. So number 3 is definitely Reggie Wayne. I don't know why. I always loved Reggie Wayne. So, like, he's just in my top 3 receivers. Number 2 is Calvin Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And number 1 is Randy Moss.
Ooh, no Jerry Rice on there at all, huh?
I'm not over the age of 40.
Okay. I'm just saying, like, that was like my dad's only NFL foray was those Montana 49ers because he went to Notre Dame when Montana was there. Jeremy?
I think I'm going same list as Ryan, except I'm probably putting Jerry Rice instead of Reggie Wayne.
Say his name.
I'm not gonna know. We're not saying anyone who might be Reggie Wayne adjacent.
I am. I'm going. Well, first off, number 1 on my list is T.O.
Okay.
And you can fight me on it. It's T.O. That's also again one of those that I've met in person, so my bias is clearly showing. And I just wanted to brag that I've met T.O. But T.O. is number 1. I guess Randy Moss is number 2. Randy Moss is number 2, as much as I want to put Jerry Rice there. And then just edging Jerry Rice is redacted. Can't say it. Can't say it. He'll come for you. Harvin Marison.
Oh, my God. I'll go top 3 emotional Detroit Lions wide receivers of my lifetime.
Love it.
Damn, now I'm thinking of Tim Brown too. Damn it, I need more than 3.
Nope.
But yeah, go ahead, Drew.
Number 1 is Calvin Johnson because he gave me the most happiness of any Lions wide receiver in my lifetime. Number 2 is Herman Moore because when I was a kid, that's who I used to pretend to be when I was running pass patterns in the backyard. Was I go, I'm Herman Moore, I'm Herman Moore.
Also, super great guy.
Yeah, yes, sweetheart.
Beautiful man.
And number 3 is simply because I think he was a Lion for all of one season, and I met him one time. David the Circus Kirkus. There we go.
David Kirkus.
Oh, you didn't know you were
that's a
getting a David Kirkus drop today. Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Wow.
That's right. Grand Valley's finest, baby. Hell of a karaoke singer, by the way. Hell of a karaoke singer.
That tracks us.
That tickles Jeremy.
We need to hunt this. We need to hunt him down because you know what? We keep talking about live shows in Detroit sometimes, Jeremy. Once Twitch Sings goes away, it might just have to be a karaoke plus live podcast.
Maybe. I'm kind of surprised you didn't go Tim Toon there with number 3.
Ooh, Tim Toon. I honestly thought about Mike the Fury Furry, but
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, you ready to get into the last segment here?
I am.
Okay.
I think we should wrap this up. Yeah, because I want to watch some Monday Night Football. Because apparently the Saints are doing Taysom Hill things again. So,
Oh, boy.
Oh no.
Yeah, Taysom Hill is on the box score. So
With a fumble or an interception?
an incompletion as far as I can
okay.
tell. All right. No, I'm sorry. 1 rushing yard.
Oh, there you go. Big place.
Big play Hill. And we're back on the Pride of Detroit PODcast, wrapping up with Big Drew from Big Drew and Jim in Grand Rapids. Again, I said I would look up the call letters there for there. That I believe is WMAX.
That is correct, sir. There
Yeah.
you go. Well done. Well done.
Some guys in radio, some other guys who I work with in radio, they're geniuses. They know all the call letters by heart. I don't. I have to look those up. Like some guys though, they're encyclopedias for that stuff. It's a weird obsession for some guys. That's a dying. This is a. I'm sorry. This is like I love radio. It's kind of a dying weird obsession. So.
Oh, there are guys who work in radio, and there are radio guys. There is absolutely a distinction between the two.
Absolutely, and sometimes they overlap. Let's see here. So we're getting on to our quarterly reviews, and we're totally not ripping off Jimmy Kimmel on this, mostly because I don't think it belongs to Jimmy Kimmel. So, but we're gonna do kind of review mock elections. We've got some rapid fire questions here. We've got the 4 of us here: myself, Drew, Jeremy, Ryan. We're going to go around here and just like rapid fire on all these and just see what we've got by the end, because this is the end of the bye week. We're on to Jacksonville starting tomorrow, whenever you hear this. So put this this is our farewell to the rear view mirror. Goodbye to the bye. And we begin with this, and we're going to go this order: Jeremy, Ryan, Drew, and then maybe myself I'll throw in there. I don't want to talk too much. Jeremy, we start with you for biggest disappointment thus far this season.
Well, there are a lot of candidates, unfortunately, for this one, but I think I'm going to go with Marvin Jones. He's a guy that I think the Lions were really expecting a lot of early in the season when Kenny Galladay was down and didn't really get much. And we saw him come up with a couple big plays in the Cardinals game that really helped them win that game. But aside from that, it's been really quiet, and it's kind of disappointing. I know we're getting towards the end of his career. He's in his 30s at this point. But it's looking like this might be a swan song in Detroit, and it's not nearly at the level that I think a lot of people were expecting.
Ryan?
I'm not going to go the player route. I'm going to say it's Darrell Bevell. I think Darrell Bevell is the biggest disappointment so far in Detroit this season, because you draft a running back in the 2nd round. Jeremy agrees with me on this one. I know for sure you need more DeAndre Swift. Why isn't TJ Hawkinson being more involved in the offense? Why is Matthew Stafford not being Matthew Stafford? I think that there's just something to the play calling. We've gotten so fed up with the run, pass thing. I think Darrell Bevell is kind of your biggest disappointment.
Drew?
I actually am going to flip to the other side of the ball and say it's Corey Undland. We brought in a new defensive coordinator and he is continuing to make the same mistakes. No pressure, no blitz, and terrible snap rotation for talented players. Why is Will Harris ever out snapping Tracy Walker ever? Never let it happen again. Get him off the field. Make it never happen again. Never let it stop. It's awful. Corey Undlin has been a gigantic disappointment, and we had why is your Okwara a healthy scratch? Either one ever. There's zero pass rush. There's been zero change to this defense. I'm gonna go Corey Undlin, biggest disappointment so far.
I'm just gonna pull the Band-Aid off with my disappointment. Hate to do it, but it is Stafford at this point. We had sky high expectations for him. I may or may not have been on the air with some people and made a fool out of myself by saying Stafford would be an MVP candidate this year. So maybe I set the bar too high. I don't know. But either way, I think you can look at what happened in 2019, and we all thought, hey, he's going to come back healthy, revenge, raw, just dominate. And no, it's like he's having footwork problems. So your 30-some-year-old veteran should not be having footwork problems at this stage in his career. Like, I'm sorry, Stafford is kind of my biggest disappointment. I hate to do it, but them's facts. All right. Biggest reason for a 1-3 start is our next one, Jeremy.
Linebackers. Linebackers are awful. They can't stop the run. They can't cover. Aside from one good game by Jamie Collins in that Cardinals game, everyone has been bad. You look at Jelani Tavai, they don't know where to put him. They put him all over in that Cardinals game, but he didn't make much of an impact. And then the next week, they play him for 9 sacks. Jared Davis is barely seeing the field anymore, but we're not seeing an impact from anyone else. Christian Jones isn't making plays. Like I said, Jamie Collins is getting himself thrown out of games. Reggie Ragland is okay, but he's basically only in there as a rotational guy. Lions can't stop the run. They can't defend the pass, and I think a lot of, I would say 90% of those problems fall on the linebackers alone.
Ryan?
It's a great position to place the blame, but I'm going to take it back another step, Jeremy. I think it's the defensive backs. I mean, the Lions have been absolutely shredded at will whenever a quarterback wants to do it, even Mitch Trubisky. Like, Mitch Trubisky's problems in the first half of that Bears game were Mitch Trubisky problems. And then the guy who got benched for Nick Foles burns you for, a quarter and a half of football, and that's curtains on week 1. So the defensive backs they were decimated by injuries in that game, don't get me wrong, but then it was the week after that, and the week after that, and the week after that. I mean, this last Saints game, Desmond Trufant is not looking like even coming close to being a Darius Slay replacement. So you have to say the defensive backs.
Drew?
All right, I'll take it a step back even further. We'll go eagle eye view. The reason for the 1-3 start is Bob Quinn. Every player you guys just talked about, he signed. These are Bob Quinn guys.
Yeah.
He overpaid Coleman, and I'm not going to blame Coleman for being on IR, but when he was healthy last year, he wasn't effective. Trufant, you pointed it out, hasn't come close to the level of replacing Darius Slay. And Jamie Collins and Trey Flowers have simply been former Patriots who are standing around collecting paychecks. Flowers has been disappointing overall. He hasn't altered the way people defend the way people block that defensive line. You don't block specifically for Trey Flowers. You just kind of block Trey Flowers because it's not that hard anymore. I say it's Bob Quinn because he didn't sign anyone who was a difference maker this offseason. I will say, if Jim ever watches this or listens to it, I fought him all offseason that Quinn didn't need to make a big splashy signing. I was wrong.
For me, I'm going to kind of go bird's eye a little bit, but I'm going to get into the bones a little bit here. It's just the scheming in the fourth quarter when it comes down to it. You want to call it dagger time. You want to lay that blame. But, I mean, dagger time is just for the offense. We're also including the scheming for the defense in the fourth quarter, too. Something about this team, they forget that they're on the clock. They forget that they're on the clock on offense. They forget that they're playing from behind and the other team is rocking and rolling. And hey, the other team's allowed to get more than a 7-point lead on you. And yet they remain conservative. They remain complacent. And look, man, I don't know how many more years we got to do this where there's someone up from the opposing locker room who says, hey, yeah, they were playing man coverage and I knew exactly what the Lions were going to do. That's a bit of a throwaway line, but it's emblematic of just so many other problems the Lions having. And by the way, zone defense isn't doing much better either for the Lions right now. Like, it's bad, man. Like, the fourth quarter comes and it feels like I can hear the sigh from every fan out there as they realize the Lions are going to have to hold on for dear life. If they've got the lead, And then there's just no hope in the fourth quarter if they don't. All right, most pleasant surprise. I think this round will go pretty quickly. Jeremy.
I want to try something here. Can we all try to answer this at the same time and see if we're right? Ready?
All right. I don't think Drew knows, but let's
it's
try
3, 2, 1, go.
Probably don't.
3, 2, 1, and then on go. Ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go. Jack Fox. Yes.
I just wanted to hear what it was. I was going to say Jason Kabinda, but that's a good answer too.
No, we all here on Pride of Detroit love our punt god Jack Fox. Do you have a different answer?
Jason Kabinda is my only other answer. The converted linebacker to fullback has been one of the top 3 blockers in the league. He's one of the top 3 all-around fullbacks in the league, and Kabinda has been a shocking surprise. But Latom, your punt god. I absolutely yes. 100%.
No, I love where we're at. That the biggest surprises for the Detroit Lions, a team in the National Football League, is a fullback and a punter. I like it. All right, most likely to be. Now this is where we get into the play. Ryan, did you want to jump in there?
No, that was just. This is hell.
All right, now we get into the yearbook stuff here. Most likely to be a Detroit Lion for life. That sounds like a threat, Jeremy. Why'd you write it like this?
I don't even think that was my. Yeah, that was Ryan.
That was Ryan?
That was Ryan.
It sounds like a threat.
That's ominous.
Most likely to be a Detroit Lion for life. I mean, I guess we can't. Muehlbach is a cheating answer, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
and also, yeah. He's already there for life.
Right.
Literally.
Man, that's a tough one because I don't think they're going to be a lot. It can't be these Patriots guys, right? Because essentially they're all going to be gone next year. Maybe like Tracy Walker. I say Tracy Walker. I think maybe the next coaching staff can get him turned around and going.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a good answer, Jeremy, is to try to take a guy that you think would just be a successful football player minus Matt Patricia's influence.
Yes, exactly.
But I'm going to kind of cheat, and I'm going to say Matt Prater. I don't think he kicks for another team.
You never know. I mean, I'm a little shaky there, but you know what? It's your opinion. We got to go through it. Drew.
I am going to go with a guy, and I'm going to go based on the way he fits the city. I'll go Frank Ragnow is a Lion for life.
Like it.
Ooh, I like
really
it. Yeah,
good answer.
That's always a good bet to go on the offensive line.
True.
As much as I want to go on the offensive line, I'm going to go with a guy, and maybe I just been smitten by him. He's just shot me through the heart just so thoroughly. You know what? Audible. I was going to say Duron Harmon. I think I could maybe see that, but I think Kenny Golladay will get locked up, and he will be a Detroit Lion for life. I'm calling my shot here, and I tend to be wrong.
I was going to say, I'm going to call that the worst bet so far of this one.
Yeah.
I will counter that. I would say, if there's a Lion who gets traded this season, it's Kenny Golladay.
Ooh.
Really?
Ooh.
I'm going to break your heart, Chris. I'm sorry.
You know what? I like high stakes. This is a high stakes gamble here. I'm pushing it all to the I'm pushing it all to the center of the table and saying to lay it on black.
I was going to say, what's the thing your Twitter friend says about scared money?
Don't make
Bovada
none.
King.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's very cute that we're calling Bovada King 69 a Twitter friend now.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Burner, maybe.
Mm.
All right.
All right.
These are harsh accusations.
Yeah. Was this you, Ryan, writing this down, or was this Jeremy most likely to succeed elsewhere?
This was me too, because I am the yearbook teacher at my high school.
That's true. All right. This was not a good week for this. I'm just going to say, because let's talk about strike three about Lions fans. So you were watching other teams fire their head coaches. You were watching trade rumors starting to swirl for Stafford. And then for some reason, a bunch of y'all were sitting out there watching Travis Fulgham and getting really upset. Like, I'm sorry. Like, wait, what are we doing here? Like, I get it that other guys going and doing well elsewhere hurts a lot, but Travis freaking Fulgham, I'm not doing this today. I'm sorry.
How many of you were banging the table for Travis Fulgham 2 months ago in training camp?
Thank you.
Nobody.
Thank you. Yeah.
Nobody. The Packers, who don't have anyone beyond Devontae Adams, couldn't make room for Travis Fulgham. Relax.
Like sometimes just settle down. I know it sucks, but you know what? Not every Lion goes somewhere else and succeeds. Like, I mean, I was looking up the stock reports for a bunch of Vikings players. All of them say, hey, this was the first week Riley Reef has had a good game.
When's the last you guys heard of Zach Zenner? Has he gone on and done amazing things for the Saints?
Where's Amir Abdullah?
He's with the Vikings.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
He's their punt returner. But like,
I'm sorry. I had to get that off my chest.
No, you're good.
That's fine. Nevin Lawson got his first interception yet?
No.
No, he doesn't.
He did get fined though. He was at that whole charity event.
Of course.
Oh, that's right.
All right, let's get on with this. Most likely to succeed elsewhere, Jeremy.
You know what? I'm gonna say Tracy Walker. Screw it. I'm gonna immediately say just
spreading all your chips around.
exactly. Yep. I gotta put it on black and red, and we'll see what happens. It'll probably show up green or whatever. The zeros. Is that right?
Zeros. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Matthew Stafford. It hurts, doesn't it?
Wow. Are we going to do this thing like fans did with Justin Verlander where they get really weepy and just really pray for him to do well?
I really hope not. That was such
I couldn't
a...
stand that.
They're already doing it. It's already happening.
I couldn't stand it when they did that with Verlander, though. I couldn't.
You guys, that's the only reason I can get away with doing trade Stafford on the radio shows. People are like, no, it's the right thing to do. He's earned the right to go win a championship somewhere else. He's a really nice person. And like that's what it is. It's already happening. Don't wait for it.
It sounds like we're rehoming a dog.
When really it's like
he was a Georgia Bulldog.
Really, yeah, when it's really like seeing your ex go off with someone way hotter than you and like go do great things. Like you have to unfollow them on every social media platform, or else I'm just gonna be pissed off at the world. Why didn't it work out with us?
You just blasting Gnarls Barkley crazy and just going, I see you driving around town. Oh god.
Ryan, go ahead. What you got for me?
Lion most likely to succeed somewhere else. I love Matthew Stafford as an answer. I am going to go with Kerryon Johnson. Get him out of the crowded backfield. Maybe he stays healthy. Maybe he gets a fair shake in an offense that's not making up its mind if it's pass first or run first every other down.
I almost want to hedge my bet and go Kenny Golladay, but I'm going to resist that. I'm sorry. I will resist that. I'm not going to put that evil out there. I am going to say DeAndre Swift. I'm going to go with the other running back. Unfortunately, I just don't think there'll be patience in the next coaching staff. But I mean, man, that kid, if he's actually put in a proper scheme, he's good. I don't think he's going to be much with the Lions just because running back is a weird crapshoot of a game.
You know how much it would drive me crazy to see Amir Abdullah and then Kerryon Johnson and DeAndre Swift all not succeed as a guy who is just pounding the table for stop drafting wide running backs this high. I mean, it would prove me right, and I do love being proved right. But at the same time, I would snap this pen and get ink everywhere.
Take it one running back further, Jeremy. Javid Best too. Ouch.
All right, this is getting even sadder.
Wow. All right. Most likely we got to go fast on these ones here. So most likely to be handsomely rewarded with a contract extension. Talk about contracts here when we're talking about firing people. Jeremy.
I'm not going to do what you think I'm going to do. I'm not going to continue to say Tracy Walker. Frank Ragnow. Frank Ragnow.
Okay.
That's not a sexy pick, but it's the right pick, Jeremy. I was going to say Frank Ragnow as well, but I really think that the team's going to do right and they're going to pay for Kenny Golladay because I think they realize that he is a top 10 wide receiver, and to let that guy go to open market would just be bozo show.
I'm going to roll with Frank Ragnow. I think that's the right answer. That's the first thing that popped into my head. I think they're going to pay Ragnow and anchor that offensive line. I still think Kenny Golladay is not going to get paid this year. I think it's going to be – you're right. It's going to be clown shoes, but I don't think they're going to do it. They balked at paying Golden Tate. I think they'll balk at paying Kenny Golladay.
I balked a little bit using his name earlier, but I think Duron I'd have to look up his contract, but Duron, yeah, you know what? Duron Harmon. I know he's 29. I think he could get I know he's a free agent after this year. I think he could get a multi-year deal somewhere.
He's a good leader.
I believe in that's exactly it, Jeremy. Like that kind of leadership is going to be noted after this year, I believe.
Right. And plus, you can get a lot more tread out of a guy like Deron Harmon too, Chris, just because he does play like that deep middle of the field and everything, so he can have an extended career.
Look,
for sure.
man, we talk about how you need good corners in this league now. Safeties are just important, and safety I think is almost a little harder to find good safeties some days.
So not Jared Davis, everybody. That's what we just decided.
No,
yeah. Okay.
No,
not Tease Tabor.
Well, since we're talking about Tease and Tease. By the way, that is NFC Conference champion Tease Tabor of 2019.
I apologize,
but we mentioned Tabor and we mentioned Jared Davis. So here's your next one. Most likely to be remembered as the reason Quintricia. This is Quintricia. It's the Boston Boys. Thought we were doing Boston Boys. I know everyone else is doing Quintricia now. I guess. Fine. I guess we're doing Quintricia. This is like the Kenny G thing all over again. Most likely to be the reason as the reason Quintricia failed.
I think it's Matt Patricia. I think Matt Patricia is going to sink them both. And I think it's his demeanor. I think it's his stubbornness in terms of what he believes is the way to win a football game and his relationship with some of the players. I think he drove out some of the best players this team had, and he replaced them with a bunch of Patriots retreads who weren't as good but fell in line. And that's what sunk the team so quickly. And so unless all these former Patriots suddenly look like world beaters again, like they did in Foxborough, I think that's going to be the thing that sinks this team.
Ryan?
I think Bob Quinn is the guy to blame. The groceries that he bought. I mean, take a look at the drafts that he had for Jim Caldwell. He was, at best, I would say maybe 50-50. You can call the 2016 draft a win because you got a franchise left tackle in Taylor Decker, at 16th overall. But that 2017 draft, outside of Kenny Golladay, was just a huge swing and a miss. Jared Davis, Tease Tabor. I mean, what personnel decisions has Bob Quinn made that make you really go, wow? Like, that guy knows what he's doing. Like, he's never strung together consecutive transactions that are like, I really think that he knows what he's doing.
I think the best move he probably ever made was to trade for Damon Harrison, and that lasted a half a year.
Yeah.
Drew?
I'll go with an unwillingness to say no to friends is what's going to doom these guys. It's an unwillingness to say no to friends. Bob Quinn was unwilling to say no to Matt Patricia, I think, multiple times on signings, on draft picks. I think that's absolutely true. And I think Matt Patricia's unwillingness to say no to Paul Pasqualoni after year one is what's going to doom him. I think that team, even without Matthew Stafford, could have done significantly better last season, and we all wouldn't be so ready to get rid of the guy. I think it was an unwillingness to fire your old mentor and an unwillingness to say, no, Paul, no, this scheme is terrible and it doesn't work. No, it was a bad idea. I think it's two guys who couldn't say no that are going to be remembered as the reason they're both going to be out of town at the end of the year.
For me, I think it's going to be burning bridges. It started with all of us watching in shock as Bob Quinn and the Lions organization apparently started to quibble over just $1 million with Calvin Johnson. And it has morphed from there into Patricia getting mad that Darius Slay is talking positively about other players on Instagram. Holy God, the evil of that, to break kayfabe, to let people know, hey, players have been playing against each other for so long and they respect each other. And no, we can't have players swapping jerseys. How dare you? And trying to act like it's still the 1970s out there and you're supposed to legitimately hate guys or something. Or it's all the other players that, it's somehow that you've picked a fight somehow with, made it a referendum about the Caldwell years that Caldwell put this team in the dumpster and you had to fight it, which then has brought all these players out of the woodworks to defend Caldwell, from Dan Orlovsky to Ndamukong Suh to all the times that Patricia's picked a fight with the media all the times that he's just appeared stubborn. It's these Ship Quandre digs out of town, all these fights, all these things where you can't take the personal out of it. I think that's what doomed it in the end, because it's doomed the reputation of the Lions. And that, if anything, is the biggest fault. All right. Final one here. We're wrapping up. I know we're kind of late. Got to get out of this. Most likely to get a head coaching job next. So I'm sorry, Ryan, when you wrote this, were you talking about someone on the Lions that's going to get a head coaching job?
Yeah.
He's not. Yes. Okay.
I think it's Braden Coombs. We've seen it. It's not common, but we've seen it happen with a special teams coordinator making the jump to head coach. It might not be this year, might not be next year, but I do believe he's a guy that, you know, if you've ever watched one of his past press conferences, you can tell he's energetic. He can speak well. He's a guy that players are going to want to play for. You know, we just spend a lot of time talking about how we want in Detroit a guy that's a player's coach, a guy that'll motivate, a guy that people get excited for. I think Braden Coombs is kind of that young guy who has that potential. He just needs a little more. He needs his resume built out a little more, but I mean, there's kind of slim pickings on this Lions coaching staff right now. So I think in a few years, Braden Coombs might be one of those guys that you see on a lot of potential coaches list.
Ryan?
2 quick answers. One, Kyle Kasky, just because we're Pride of Detroit. I mean, you got to give him a little rub, right?
Sure.
Yeah. But the real answer is Darrell Bevell, because if Patricia gets fired, that's who's going to be the Lions' interim head coach. That counts.
I guess it does. Yep. Drew?
Chase Daniel.
Damn it, you took my answer. I'm going to go with you. No, I'm going to go with you there. Chase Daniel. Yes, absolutely. Like, the guy's been everywhere. He's done everything. He's given out scholarships to kids from Texas to go to Mizzou. Like, I mean, you look at his whole career, both in college and what he's done off the field too. Like, he's angling to get on that, like, coach assistant, positional coach track to get into the NFL, I think.
Look at the guys that he has been a backup quarterback for. Look at guys he's held a clipboard for. This is a guy who's grooming himself to go from backup QB to QB coach to head coach. That's his path.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Totally 100% agree with everything there.
One more name I want to throw out there is Robert Prince, wide receivers coach. Super fun to watch when he's out there in practice. Guy that the one guy in the Lions organization that Calvin Johnson still respects. And he's been around this organization. Like, he has a ton of experience. It kind of surprises me. Maybe he doesn't have the desire to be a coordinator or a head coach, but I think he has absolutely the personality for it.
Absolutely. And I think that's where we end it there. Once again, thank you, Big Drew, at Big Drew Tweets, Big Drew and Jim on WMAX FM 96.1 ESPN in Grand Rapids. And RIP to WDFN in Detroit, where you used to be able to hear them, but you can still hear them online. So look for them there. It's a fun show. You guys do 4 hours, right?
Yeah, 3, 4, something. It depends on the day. A lot of the time we get interrupted by live programming coming on at 6, and we're like, we'll get out of the way. We'd rather have you guys listen to live sports than us talk about live sports.
Yeah, but man, like, 4-hour shows can be rough to do, especially if you're doing it every day. That's a lot. So props to you guys doing that.
Oh, thank you very much. I drink a lot of caffeine and don't sleep much.
Well, that works for all of us here. Along with me again, I'm Christopher Fett at Christopher Fett on Twitter, PERFETT. Jeremy Reisman at Detroit Online. Ryan Matthews, our rock god, at Ryan_POD. Always download the podcast. Watch us when we're live on Twitch. Watch the replay on YouTube. And as always, we'll see you next week. And as I say, see you Starside. We're out.
But we are still live, so don't pick your nose or anything.
We're all still live. Don't certainly take off
put your nose in anything.
Yeah, let me send Craig home. Hold on a second.
We'll stick around, and if you got to go, you can go. And that's to anybody.
Cool.
We usually stick around for 5-10 minutes just to answer some questions for our live audience. But like I said,
I can give you 5-10.
Okay,
let's do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Drew.
I'm gonna peace out.
Yeah, I know you got to go, Ryan. So thank you.
But yeah, and I just want to say thanks to Drew too. Thanks for coming on, man. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, happy to do it, man. This was fun.
Good times.
We're definitely going to try to do it again if we can. Just
Yeah, no.
We don't get many guests on here. Part of that's on me. I'm sometimes too lazy or scared to reach out to people. But yeah, we wanted you're up there with Michael Rothstein now. As like we need to get you back because yeah.
Oh, dude, you guys got to grab Jim too. Jim will do this anytime.
Sure.
Oh, Jim? Yeah, no. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll go
yeah.
down. I know I wanted to I didn't want to cram our room too much because I know we had all three of us this week, but I'll reach out to Jim sometime too.
Oh yeah, no, don't put us on together because then you just get the show. You know,
Yeah.
you can't turn it off. It's a problem.
Okay. A couple questions here. We didn't get to Bob Quinn too much. So does anyone have a candidate? I'll be honest. GM candidates. That's not even at the beginning of my thought process right now. Does anyone have a name out there that they're interested?
It's not my name. I saw this though on our Discord, and I disagree with it. But people have fallen in love with it as a name, and I think he might be interested in this kind of stuff. I don't think he goes to Lions though. Peyton Manning. People apparently want to see him as a general manager. I think that sounds doomed. That sounds like some Elway crap going on there. No, but that's the thing, Jeremy. Like people don't know what they need to look for in a general manager.
Right.
In head coach, you can identify that very quickly. In a general manager, like you want someone with scouting. You want someone probably that's either like has some background either in scouting or working with a salary cap. One of those two things, I would say.
Yeah. Preferably both, but you don't have a lot of those guys just waiting around to be hired by someone.
Yeah, and to the credit of Bob Quinn, like I mean, he had the credentials as far as like besides being a Patriots guy, like he was their pro scout for a pretty long time, and he found them pretty good talent. Like,
yep.
And I think that's as much as we kind of crap on Quinn for some of his draft picks, like I'm sure every year there's at least one free agent signing where I'm like, how the hell did you get that guy at that price? Wait, what?
Yeah.
And he's able, like he did that with Adrian Peterson. He did that the other year with Trey Flowers, and Trey Flowers obviously didn't pan out. And that's kind of the worry sometimes when you go and sign veterans is you just don't always get the most out of it. But I think he's batted pretty well on free agency.
He's been okay.
Yeah. But I mean, he's not in like god awful bad territory.
Yeah.
No, it's not as bad as the draft picks. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, especially after Mike Mayock got hired by the Raiders, want to kind of go that like draft guru, that TV draft guru route, which
might be the way
weary
to go
of. I don't know.
I mean, if we're going the way of, hey, you need to rebuild, taking someone who has college scouting expertise is probably the way to go, but I don't think you're going to find him on TV.
Yeah, right.
By the way,
go ahead.
Just want to say hello. I love our little. I need to update my little world map. I love finding our Lions friends from all over the world. Jorge Gonzalez with 3 S's from chiming in. He's from Argentina. Hello, Jorge, and welcome.
Welcome.
So now we've got what have we got on the wall here? We've got Brazil, Argentina, Italy,
Germany,
Canada, obviously. I think we've got 1 or 2 guys from Mexico, Ireland, the UK, both England and Scotland in there.
Yeah. All right. I got another fun question here. This is more of the fun, and I'm going to help.
What's up?
I'm going to help by adding a stream. What is your favorite Lions logo of all time? And hopefully you can see that. Like I got the 6 up here.
Yeah, I see it on the stream.
Okay.
Not in you might have to watch in Discord, Drew, but I'm watching the stream.
Yeah.
I've been on record saying that 1961 logo should be their current logo. Like that looks like Art Deco classic Detroit. That looks like a car hood ornament. I love it. I love it so much. I'm starting to see it on hats more. I want that logo back. It is. I know they use the 52 one in Ford Field, but 1961 with some update to the Lion itself, that's hands down my favorite logo.
I actually have a sweater with that one on it, and I'm with you 100%. I love that logo a lot.
It just screams Detroit. It screams cars. It screams. Yeah.
I do kind of love bubbles though. It's the logo I grew up with. So the 1970 one, and maybe it looks a little bit better with the black trim, but you know, black in the Lions logo brings also back some really, really bad memories. So I think I would go 1961 first and then 1970. And I think that 52 one is pretty cool too, but I think we see it a lot during Thanksgiving.
We're past that age. Yeah, that's kind of like That's the logo you want. You want to have one of those logos that you can reserve. That's like, this is from a really quaint otherworld time, kind of like with the Steelers with that Steeler Bob punting the ball while on a steel rail or something. Like, you want that kind of quaint throwback logo. You can keep that as that, but 61 should be revived.
Yeah, nope. 61. Update the proper blue color in there, and you're good to go.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe make the line a little less lean. Maybe kind of give it a little more definition. But other than that, like,
I love it.
It's so good.
Bulk it up a little bit. Give the lion a dad bod there.
Yeah. Who will be our leading rusher for the Jaguars game? That's a good question. Are we eventually ever going to see this team transition away from a 35-year-old running back to maybe someone that was born, in the past 30 years?
Is someone going to beat Reggie Bush again?
No, it's going to be Adrian Peterson. It's going to be Adrian Peterson. Listen, I'm going to say until about the halfway point in the season when Peterson runs out of gas, it's going to be Adrian Peterson. And then it'll be the DeAndre Swift, Kerryon Johnson show, and they'll go, well, we were saving them because we knew this would happen.
Right.
And, they'll try and claim it. Yeah, but it's going to be Adrian Peterson. I mean, Darrell Bevell trusts Adrian Peterson. When we thought Darrell Bevell was a good offensive coordinator, it was when he was running Adrian Peterson 20 times a game.
Right.
You want to talk about some stuff getting nasty in the locker room. Remember every time Adrian Peterson suddenly gets carries taken away from him? Remember him jumping up and down in New Orleans on the sideline there, yelling at the coaching staff because he doesn't feel he's getting enough carries. That's going to happen when that happens in Detroit. Like, suddenly he's going to be suddenly the one pissed off with the press every now and then because suddenly, like, he can't admit that he's out of gas.
I don't know, man. I really do feel like we're just moments away from the DeAndre Swift party starting. I really do. And maybe I'm being naive. It's very possible that I'm being naive at this point, but I do feel like, he started out the season with that injury, didn't have the full offseason. I think coming back out of the bye week is a perfect time to really unleash the beast here. And I think against a bad Jaguars defense is a great time to do it. I hope they do it. Maybe that's just me being hopeful. The remaining tiny amount of hope that I still have in this team. I think DeAndre Swift is due for a breakout game, and it might become this week.
I've been giving him stock up the last few weeks, and look, I know everyone, like, it's hard to wash out what happens in week one for some people, but I mean, man, you start looking at his combined numbers from scrimmage, and I think he's starting to put it together a little bit. So I think they're starting to use him better too. Like, they're both using him in that old Theo Riddick role where it's like, hey, we're just going to pass to you, which is a winning strategy now in the NFL, is to do a passing running back. But at the same time, like, they're sending him out on those routes to the outside. I mean, they're sending him to go bounce to the outside, and he's starting to get that speed. He hasn't hit that second level yet, just because it's kind of hard to do with everyone bringing the house on the Lions. But I think once he finds that next gear, he could be interesting. Probably won't happen this year, but you're going to see the flashes that are going to keep you drip fed on the Kool-Aid for next year.
All right, we'll make this our last question from NBA Rigged. He asks, what will the headline be if the Lions lose to the Jaguars? Really optimistic chat today. We've got a whole bunch of optimists.
Man.
Anyone a good headline writer here?
I'm trying to think of a good one. I mean, the one that pops in my head is "jag off." That's the easy
Sure, yeah.
No, I don't think the Free Press or the News, they don't do those kind of catchy headlines. Unfortunately,
they don't do cutesy headline writing. No,
no, unfortunate. Like, I guess we're trying to make this like if it's going to be an NY Post or a Times-Picayune or like a Times-Picayune headline.
Chris, we have our own publication. I don't know if you knew that.
I know. But I try to write that, and then people send me like hate mail. Though.
Well, that's what people do. People
people send me hate mail. People send me hate mail. They spam our reviews saying, "Chris, you don't know what the hell you're talking about."
You broke my lion southern heart. Except lion is, of course, lion, not lion. I don't know.
I was gonna say Jacksonville's kind of known for its parrot heads wasted away again in Saxonville or I was trying to think of something with like big cats though. Like I want to go King of the Jungle no more, but the Lions were never kings of anything. So
you could do a play on Shad Khan's kids wrestling company did an event at the Jags Stadium. They had a stadium
AEW?
stampede. Yeah, you could call it Stadium Stampeded. That would be the headline there. Stadium Stampeded. I don't know. That's all I got.
Slam to the canvas.
Yeah. I don't know. My jokes are as old as Chris Jericho. That's all I got.
Ooh.
I got nothing either. I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, I was gonna try to do something with Duval. That's not just like there's not a lot of pun potential there.
Min shoot up and spit out. I don't know. That's all I got.
Ooh. See, like, man, I know there's some other radio shows that do this with like anticipating headlines.
Oh yeah,
This would
Levitard's
absolutely be-
real good at that stuff.
Yeah.
So. All right, boys. I'm gonna call it. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Yeah,
I
thanks for
wanna
joining
wrap
us,
up
man.
Thanks
You did
a lot,
great.
Drew. This was really fun.
Anything else you really want to promote for the remaining viewers of besides the radio show?
The radio show is cool. If you like using Twitch and playing video games, look into Extra Life for Kids. It's a great organization that raises money for children's hospitals all across the country.
Perfect.
Both Jeremy and I are on Twitch, so that works out perfectly. So
Yo, check out Extra Life GR. It's run by Adam Antor out of Aquinas Esports. Actually,
there's a Grand Rapids Extra Life. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, buddy. There we go. All right,
awesome.
guys. Have a good one.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you. I don't know, when are we going to be on live? Oh, Wednesday night. Wednesday night we'll do our first bite.
Have you figured out the Jags guest yet?
Not yet, but we'll get one. I promise. So.
I was just curious because last time we had the Jags on a first bite, it was very unique. I think was the best way to describe what happened.
I don't remember it, but
I do. He was drunk.
Should we send you guys somewhere before we call it quits here? Should we raid somebody? You guys want to go hang out with Graham Glasgow? How about you all hang out with Graham Glasgow?
And if anyone wants to jump on Discord afterwards, I'm about to jump up to Open Lions Hangout once I have a powwow with Jeremy. But,
there you go.
I'll be up there.
Yeah, so we'll pass you along to Graham Glasgow. He's playing Among Us. I'm pretty sure he plays with fans, so if you guys have Among Us, maybe you can go get in a game with Graham Glasgow. That'd be fun. But yeah, head on over there. He knows us. He's well familiar with us. Say hi on our behalf. And then again, we'll see you on Wednesday, everybody. So see you then. Go Lions. Go Ruby. Look at little Ruby getting some belly rubs.
Little.
Well, compared to Zazu, she's little. All right, guys. Go raid. Go have fun. We'll see you on Wednesday. All right. 5.